Hello, good day, everybody. Greetings from southern Thailand. My name is Richard Laity, and I'll be the facilitator for today for scaling up group certification through collaboration amongst the PEFC Alliance. So today we will be talking about how to manage the group certification system on the ground to meet the national standard, which follows up from the last webinar. So we have been partly supported by UN Red and the Norwegian government to do this training. And then I think we'll go to the next slide and show you the agenda for today. A quick introduction on this as the webinar series, and then handing over to Rungnapa and Sompon from Thailand to cover a real on the ground group certification that's under process of PEFC certification, and also from Sompon looking at how to scale up and what's the feasibility for group certification in Thailand. And that will be a snapshot from Thailand, and then we'll ask Hannah, for the CEO of PEFC Spain, and we'll learn about how to do group certification on a large scale. There were 2.6 million hectares certified. I think that covers almost the entire area of rubber in Thailand. But that's where we'll learn from how to do group certification, and then we'll do a wrap up and hopefully take some time to answer your questions and answers. Next, thanks. So just to remind us that the group certification is based on the Meta standard, or the International Sustainability Benchmark 1002, and these group requirements are quite new and have been updated to make more guidance for group certification to keep up with stakeholders' expectations. PEFC has 49 members, which are our country's national certification system schemes. And amongst that, there's 407 group FM certificates, and that makes up a lot of our 335 million hectares. And group certification is becoming more important. My job is to support developing smallholder systems in Southeast Asia, but we've been having field dialogues, and Spain, who will be talking today, hosted the first one in 2015, and then who we'll hear from later or next week at this time, Finland and Germany. We continue to go into the field and look at, okay, how can we learn from each other to make group certification be applied? And the approach is sometimes called regional or jurisdictional or landscape level, but it's all must meet these requirements of group certification. And then, so we have this series, and you are now in the second webinar of 3, which are aiming to demonstrate our commitment to make certification accessible to smallholders and facilitate capacity and knowledge amongst our members and industry stakeholders, and provide tools, as well as, like we did last week, we saw some very basic tools for the preconditions for certification, provide the lessons learned, and provide the people to learn to learn from to reduce the barriers to group certification. So this is the objective of the overall series of webinars. And on the next slide, we'll see the objective of today. And so after today, I hope that you have understood the case studies of the group certification of group study rubber smallholders in Thailand, and understand the challenges and opportunities to scale up. I'm sitting here in southern Thailand, and I can see the huge industry and how the 6 million people that depend on rubber production in Thailand, how they actually engage with the supply chain, and then look at going forward, how are we going to make group certification feasible. And then the last objective of today is to learn how PEFC Spain, I think in the 20 plus years, maybe they've got to doing large scale group certification of smallholders. And this is exciting because we are sharing maybe some challenges that Spain had 20 years ago, Thailand has today, and we can think about how do we overcome this. Okay. So then I will now hand it over to Kun Rungnapha to take over for the presentation. Thanks, Rungnapha.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So good afternoon from Thailand, everyone. My name is Rungnapha, and Richard already introduced me. Today I'm here to give you a little bit of background and information about case study of group certification with smallholder rubber smallholder in Thailand. Before we go to the detail of the group certification, I just would like to let you thinking about the background of the natural rubber. Like they have two way or two sides of the story about using natural rubber. The one way is the advantage for using natural rubber, like the natural rubber is come from natural and come from tree. So this is the quite totally environmentally friendly for us and global. And the activity of rubber plantation operation is quite low impact for environment. They did not use the heavy machinery, and also the natural rubber is the biodegradable and recycled material. So it's quite good. But for another way that we face the challenge for using natural rubber is like the price of the natural rubber is quite unstable and impact to smallholder. And also sometimes the human rights violation also happen in some area. And deforestation also is the big issue for convert the forest to be the natural rubber plantation. So next related problem is about biodiversity loss, because sometimes natural rubber plantation is just mono crop plantation. So that's why some biodiversity was damaged from the activity. That's why people or user they try to ask for certification to fulfill their confidence to use the natural rubber. Yeah, when the way people asking for certification, who will get the huge impact from certification is for sure smallholder, because smallholder they are the most producer. They are the majority of rubber producer in around the world. So if people asking for certification, sure they have to get some impact from implementation of their operating. Yes, for the farmer perspective of the challenges of certification, not just only the price that they depend on the rubber production that they have to survive on the living. So the productivity is also another issue, that if they maintain their rubber plantation not properly or not good enough, they can get low productivity and unsustainable practices. Maybe they don't know what activity will make their impact in long term production or long-term maintaining their rubber plantation. And also the last thing is about low forestry expertise, because the rubber plantation considered as the agriculture plantation. So that's why people don't know well about the forestry perception or forestry implementation that they can try to adapt to their farm. So the way to how to help them to address the challenge and to support them to access to certification, maybe we have to think about to provide alternative source of income that let rubber smallholder not depend on just only rubber production. Maybe should help them on this issue. And training for the good practice to maintain their rubber plantation can also help them on improve the productivity. Sometimes the standard is also encourage rubber smallholder or member to work in the same in the good practice. And we have to ensure the rubber plantation provide a good benefit for environment and worker. And also we may try to think about how to integrate the forest management and agriculture practices to meet in the same stage or same area. So now I would like to introduce you the first case study in Thailand in Trang province. You can see in the map that Trang is located in southern part of Thailand, and under the Trang we have the Rasada district that we have Khongpang Rubber Fund Cooperative in there. When we think about the Trang is the first province that rubber tree was introduced in Thailand. So since 1899 until now, they are still planting a lot of rubber tree. And the first cooperative that started with us named Khongpang Rubber Fund Cooperative consists of 163 smallholders, include with the 313 plantation plot and 350 hectares. This cooperative quite well organized or well functioned already, but the certification is quite new for them. And this project initiated by cooperative and supporting by private sector or company to support them to start with the forest certification. And next case study in Stone province, you can see go down a little bit to the more southern than Trang is the Stone province. This is quite different because this initiated by State Enterprise, Rubber Authority of Thailand or RAOT, that they provide information to cooperative about why the certification is coming, and maybe we have to adapt, we have to be ready very fast to fulfill the market. So some cooperative, they are interested to join the certification. Same as two case here, Kwan Kalong Rubber Fund Cooperative and Cherem Pakiat Rubber Fund Cooperative that IoT start to support them in Stone province. There are 600 smallholders in 1,000 hectares of rubber plantation in the group. So this is some of example of the map of the one cooperative, Khongpang Rubber Fund Cooperative in Rasada district. You can see the small piece of block. The yellow one is the plantation part of rubber smallholders that be part of the group. And the light green line is the boundary of sub-district, that every sub-district located in the same district that we call Rasada under the Trang province. You can imagine how small they are. They are quite small piece of jigsaw to be part of the same group. And refer to last week, the first webinar that PEFC provide you information about how to establish the group certification in terms of the concept and process and guideline. And now I will introduce you for the reality on the ground, how we start to excuse me, okay, how we start to build a group certification. Firstly, we start with the collecting basic information for forest owner, like their information about the land tenure, the land use rights. Somehow we use another type of government document to refer the land ownership, and another basic information that we collect at the beginning. So next we have to establish group management procedure to make the step, or make the process, or make the how to say, the rule to work together with the member and the group entity, and set the role and responsibility for members. You can see the chart on the bottom right hand, the group organization, that we use the existing group organization in the cooperative to run the group certification. For the first case in Trang, they did not have any support from government, but another hand in the Stone, they will have another line from IoT to support cooperative to run certification on the ground as well. So after that, we have to train a farmer to identify ecological important forest area. Of course, this is not easy to understand what it means, ecologically important forest area. So we have to digest the definition of ecologically important forest area to be the friendly word to talk to them, to understand what is it and how they can find in the area. And after that, the training activity, also the activity that we have to maintain after we get the procedure. We have to train member to follow the procedure and rules. Monitoring is one of another activity that the participant, the leader of in each village, they have to monitor the member in each village to check did they work properly in the condition or the regulation or the rule that they set together. Internal audit is the last thing that they have to maintain. Sometimes they have done internal audit by themselves, or sometimes they hire another consultant or auditor or expert to help on the internal audit. It's not a problem. They can choose what they want to do. But this is one of the requirement of the standard that they have to do the internal audit to make sure the operation functioning well.
Rungnapat, just to let you know, about 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. So this is the challenge from audit. I will share you a little bit on, because the two cases, they face the same problem when they get the audit, like the information at the beginning is not up to date. They have to come back and check information again. Maybe the map is not correct enough. Lack of information about annual allowable cut, because the rubber plantation, maybe they did not think much about rubber tree. They're just thinking about the rubber latex. So that's why this is some of the weak point. And monitoring and evaluation is not functioning well. So we have to improve for monitoring and evaluation for in the existing group. And training for harvesting team is limited, because the harvesting team is not a member. So that's why they have to try to talk with the harvesting team, how to work in the safety conditions, something like that. And the last thing, the forest management plan is not publicly available. This is, we face the same problem in two cases, but I don't think this is a big issue to fix. Yeah, so I would like to conclude about the challenge and opportunity for group certification in Thailand. What we may need to fix at the urgent, and what is the opportunity that we can try to work more. So the database management is the biggest problem with us. So we have to try to find some technology and to support them to collect information at the beginning properly, and also the record and management other document that we have to try to find another tool to support the group certification. And the second thing, low forestry expertise is one of the biggest that we have to try to combine between forestry perception and also agricultural perception in the same stage. And connect demand and supply also is another challenge. Sometimes we know demand, but we don't have supply, and sometimes we would like to build supply, but we don't have demand. So this is we have to try to engage stakeholder go together. Opportunity, we can try to expand group certification in large scale, because large scale maybe can reduce the cost and can make more practical to implement on the ground. And another opportunity to improve knowledge of smallholder, they open their mind to learn, but we have to use the language. We don't use the academic language with them. Okay, I go very fast. Yeah, this is my last slide. So how we can collaborate and address barrier together. Maybe we have to try to learn from what we have done, and we try to learn what who have done and success already, and try to build a suitable model or case for Thai smallholder. And for sure, we have to work with government, because smallholder, they trust on the government more than us or private sector. Government is a key important one in the group certification and in between us and smallholder. Connect demand is also important. And I'm sure we are not ready, or we cannot say this is we are good enough today. We have to improve every year, every time. Positively. Thank you, Richard. And over to you.
Okay, thanks, Rungapa. I think you have hit on a good thing about learning from existing cases. So we've been working for a long time in certification in PEFC, and even in Thailand, you have your own experiences with other certification, such as Global Gap, and it's important for us to learn what has worked in that for other countries. And that leads us to introduce Mr. Sampol, who's taken a bigger picture look at the feasibility for group certification, and also the baseline study, which has learned from Rungnapa's case studies as well as existing other certification systems. And I open the floor to Mr. Sampon. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and good morning for the participants in Thailand, and good morning for the two participants from the different time zone. First of all, I would like to thank you to PEFC to provide me the opportunity to share the baseline and feasibility report on the group certification for both FM and COC in Thailand. So actually, this study was conducted in the end of 2021, and we has been completed in the April 2022. So maybe some of the figure, just like the number of certification, maybe not up to date, but I think it's maybe not much different. It's maybe more or less that the figure I will show you today. So okay, let me share with you that what is the contents or what I'm going to share with you today. The first topic that I'm going to share with you today is the overview of the current situation of the group certification in Thailand. So the second topic that I'm going to share with you is the key findings from the FM and COC in Thailand. And the third topic is feasibility of national group certification. And the last topic is that the suitable model of group certification in Thailand. So okay, let me talk about the overview of the group certification in Thailand. As you may already know that the group certification has been developed in response to the market demand and provides the opportunity for forest smallholder to equal access to the certification by developing the sample-based approach for the methods of the audit method, and also let the smallholder to share the cost of the certification and certification process. So in Thailand, the group certification has been gained attention in since 2018, and the first company has been certified in 2029. And as Nulapa have already shared to you, all of you, that most of the certified area in Thailand is the rubber wood, and non-forest timber product is scope of product certification. That is the main scope of product that already certified in Thailand, whereas the timber is just only the supplementary benefit from the certification certified as forest timber product. So let me share you about the accessibility to the group certification of the smallholder. So we divide the group of smallholder into two groups. The first group is the smallholder who's already certified, and the next group is non-certified or unacceptable to group certification in Thailand. As I informed you before that, this information we collect in the April 2022. So from the study, we found that there are approximately 9 groups of forest smallholder that's already certified in Thailand. And with the number of total area is 82,000 light, or approximately 13,000 light nationwide across our country. But it's just only one group that already has been certified as COC certified with the 30 members of small forest product operators. So on the other hand, we also found that there are approximately 9,925 smallholders with approximately 200,000 members and more than 137 forest product group that are not non-certified or that are unable to access to the group certification in Thailand. So let me show you the graph that will show you some idea on the number of certified area in the country, especially for this graph will show the certified area of group certification. As I mentioned before, most of the certified area of group certification is rubber wood plantation, and the second one is eucalyptus plantations, and both of the group are exhibited by the private company and cooperative. So the interesting point of this certified area is that all of the group facilitated or maintained by the private sector. Show you the non-certified of the smallholders and the smallholder who's unable to access to the group certification. In this study, we categorize the group of smallholders into 6 categories. And the interesting group is that the group under the Rubber Authority of Thailand, which they have the 1.7 million members and from the 4 regions of the countries. And another group is interesting one that is forest private plantation cooperative, that they have more than 1,100 members from 10 cooperative. And another interesting point from the study is that the forest, the small forest product operator who's didn't access to the group certification, and that is opportunity for PEFC to working on in Thailand, is that the group of the cooperative and the group of community enterprise, as well as the primary secondaries of the rubber wood industry producer. So the key findings from this study, in this study, we use the in-depth interview and focus group discussion as to collect the primary information from 34 organization with 50 people that we have already collected information from them. So according to the results from the in-depth interview and also the result of focus group discussion, we have been classify and categorize the key findings. And then we have the key findings categorized into 6 categories. The first one I would like to share with you is that the finding from FM in Thailand. The first finding that we found from this study is that the cost of certification process, that we found that the informants people, interview people, they express the same way that the cost of certification is high, and also the cost of consultants also really high for them to operate or to accept into the group certification. And the second finding is that the documentation and administration, that we found that unnecessary document create bundlings and take of taking record and keeping document, because of most of the smallholders are small scale entities, and also they are household business operation in the countries. The third key findings is that FM and group certification requirement, that we found there are excessive requirements for smallholder to comply with the requirements of both FM and group certification, and also the requirement of the certification does not meet with the contract of the country. So the fourth key finding that we found is that the demand and supply, especially the abilities of the smallholder to access to the market, and also the competitiveness for them to access to the local market, because there we have the extra cost of the operation to acquire the certification. The number 5 key finding that we found is that knowledge and information. We found that the information expressed from the source of information go through the same way, is that there are lacks of the knowledge and necessary information, because as I said before, most of them they are small scale entity and small household business. So this one is quite really huge challenge for the forest smallholder to access to the group certification. And the last finding that we found is that the financial, because of the forest investment is long-term investment. So this is a huge challenge for them to access to the fund or the financial support from the financial institution or even from the government. So let me share the key finding from COC. The key finding from the COC, most of findings are similar to the FM, but the important key point that is different from the FM is that the demand and supply, which is the lack of certified raw material, is a huge challenge and problem for them, because even they have the order from the customer from the market, but they cannot source the certified timber for their production. That is a very, very big problem for them. So let me share about the feasibility study. So in the case of feasibility study, we have categorized the key finding from the study on the current situation of group certification in Thailand. So from that 6 finding that we already found, so we categorize one again, and then we have the 4 aspects that we have already studied on the feasibility. And this feasibility, we focus on the national standard for both sustainable forest management and the chain of custody. So as I informed before, that the feasibility that we have already studied on, and we focus on the 4 aspects. The first aspect is that law and policy. In terms of the law and policy, we found that the 20-year national strategy has already focused on the economy reforestation and also for the timber industry. So that result to the development of the national forest policy to support and to promote the forest certification in Thailand. But on another hand, that we found that in terms of the law and regulation level, there are still barriers to the small scale entities to comply with the law and regulation, especially for them to access to the permit and licensing on their operation. In terms of the financial feasibility, so we found that based on information we collect and we analyze, we found that the premium price is one of the opportunity to support the tree growers support to smallholder to access to the group certification. This premium price is the market price on the normal price. Is that this one can share the benefit to all the actors, smallholder in the value chain of the company who obtain the certification. So in this feasibility study, we found that the smallholders who participate with the group certification, they has more income compared to the smallholder who didn't join with any group certification. This figure quite significant because we already collect the information from the clouds and then we analyze. And also the income, as I mentioned before, the income from or the premium price can share to every actor in the supply chain. And also at the same time, the cost also has to be shared among the actor within the supply chain. That means the certificate holder also have to pay for their certification process, pay for certification maintenance. On the other hand, the other operators such as tree growers, they also have to pay for their time for to comply with the requirement, and also they have to respond for their operation costs. This cost will be shared for each actor in their value chain, and the benefit from the premium price we also share to the actors in the value chain. So on the last thing, on the financial feasibility, there are many of the state financial enterprise that provide some fund or capital to the small scale entity to work in the timber industry, just like Bank of Agricultural and Agricultural Cooperative, that they provide the program on the loan, the credit loan with 20 years credit. Just that one is named is the Foresco. This credit line available and provide for small scale entity in the timber industry. So
excuse me, I'm not sure who control the time. Maybe you have just 2 or 3 minutes left with the support.
Okay, thank you. I have another 2 or 3 slides left. So the third aspect of feasibility study that we study on marketing feasibility, we found that certified timber or certified timber product has advantage for export market, especially for the regulated market, that they have developed the import control system to prevent illegal logging enter to their supply chain. So this one is an opportunity for the domestic certified timber and timber product to the export market. In the same way, we found that global economic crisis is the one key factor that change the customer behavior to buy the legal timber verification instead of certified timber. So in the next feasibility that we study on the ability of the smallholder to comply with the certification requirement, in this feasibility, the study found that traditional norm of the forest smallholder is one of the key factors that is one key factors to them to comply with the certification requirements, especially for the requirements on the occupation healthy and safe. And also in terms of COC certification, the issue of this certification for small scale entity is that because of there are the local business operation and also there are family business operation, there will be have some issue especially with how to maintain the record, document keeping, and also the due diligence system is the new thing for them. So for this last slide, I will share with you to the suitable model for FM and COC. This model we developed based on the result of baseline assessment and feasibility study. We use the SWOT and TALS to formulate this model, and this model can even use for both FM and COC. So in this model, suggests that in terms of the group formation, community for community enterprise and cooperative is the entity that suggests from this model. And also this model, this group must be formulated by the private sector or the state. And so in terms of the financial, so the financial to support the certification process and also the operation, the source of financial that suggests from this model is the source of funds from cooperative promotion departments, source from Bank of Agricultural and Agricultural Cooperative, and also the source of fund from National Saving Bank, and also the source of fund from ROAT or the Local Authority of Thailand. In terms of the cost, within the model must be implement the concept of cost sharing. As I mentioned before, the cost must be distributed and shared to every actors within the supply chain. And also the benefit from the premium price must be shared and implement the concept of benefit sharing for every actors in their value chain. So in terms of the group entity or group management, this group can be managed by community enterprise or cooperative themselves, or even managed by private company who formulate this group. In terms of the marketing side, the marketing side must be driven by private sector or even government sector to support from both sides. And in terms of the compliance with requirement, as Lunapa has mentioned before, we found the same thing, that there are a lot of issues with the technical on the cloud. So the import and the number of consultants in the country is not much. Is really less a number of consultants. So in this model, suitable model must be developed and support to have more consultants in the country, especially in the forestry sector. And the last one is law and policy. So as you know, I have mentioned before, law and policy, in terms of policy or in terms national policy is not issue for the group certification, but in the law and regulation level is issue or barrier for small scale entity to comply with the law and regulation. So in this case, the government must issue the measure to promote the smallholder to access to the certification, revise or improve some barrier law and regulation to let the small entity to comply with the regulation as well. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you, and you are welcome for any question.
Thank you, Sumpon. And we did get one question, and we welcome more questions, as Nya put in there. I think one interesting issue you talked about was there is a lack of raw material when there is demand, a chicken and egg scenario, where we need to stimulate both to make the certification work at scale. So now I would like to hand over to Anna, and she can introduce herself from PEFC Spain, and she might talk about how she got over the chicken and egg issues many years ago, setting up PEFC Spain and expanding the certification. Over to you. Thanks, Anna.
Unmute. Hello.
Hi.
Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. Okay. This one. Okay. And share. That's it. That's the screen. Now we got it. Hello. I am Ana Noriega. I am the Secretary General of PEFC Spain. I've been working for PEFC for 15 years. Before of that, I used to work for as consultant for the Minister and the Minister and Ministry of Environment of Spain. So I used to be consultant for international forest policy issues. So I've been going here and there, learning from other countries, from other circumstances, and other types of living, other economies, other cultures, and so on. So for me, I think I'm a fortunate person to be able to develop my professional career in the international arena. Now the challenge was when I was hired by PEFC Spain and tried to put all these things we were talking about in the United Nations, on FAO, the European Union, and try to put all these things on the ground by means of certification. So for me, it was quite challenging, but I think it's a great challenge. I'm happy to deal with. So let me start with my presentation. I will give you an overview of how do we do it at the national level. In Spain, we started with this cooperation with Southeastern Asian countries some years ago. I think it was 2015. We had a meeting in Madrid. We had the chance of having some of you in Madrid, and then we could explain how did we do it. We are a Mediterranean country. We are not regarded as a big forestry country, but we do have forest activity. So let's start with okay. So what does a PEF forest mean? What does it mean for us? It should mean comfort and well-being. That's what the society looks. Water, CO2 sinks, biodiversity protection, or products, green jobs. Here we see some cork, which is a non-wood forest product we produce in Spain. We also know that forest products, for instance, timber, can be the great products in the future. The nature-based products are really very much demanded. But we also know that 18% of the carbon released to the atmosphere is due to the deforestation, to the advance of the agriculture border versus the forest border. So we need to make forests practical for people living in these areas, and a way of living is very much important. These are the people are living, most of them in cities. This is an image of people that are living in the cities. But we also have the agricultural land competing with forests. We also have the grazing, and these are examples of how people is the trend of living. And we also compete with the infrastructure, in big infrastructures like the roads, railways, and so on. So what we need is to have a culture of being able to live in the forest, in the surrounding area of the forest, in the rural areas. That's what we really need. So PEFC is standing for this. It's standing to make it possible, that forest products give an answer to the demands of the society, that forests themselves gives an answer to what society is asking for us, and we need to go ahead and be in the first row of the line, and being able to give this kind of answers by sustainable forest management means. We have a bottom-up approach. We are speaking about forest owners right today, and we need to make it possible for them, because this is the reality in many places of the world, like my country, like Thailand. We need a multi-stakeholder engagement at the national and global level, with a multi-purpose forestry. In the rural areas, people don't live of one, in many cases, they don't live of one only product, or one only production, or one only activity, but many activities. So we have been doing for these last 20 years, continuous improvement, and try to dialogue with all the parties. What is? I'm trying to put this up there. Okay, down here. We need a multi-purpose forestry. Here in the picture, you see different. You have cork, or you have chestnut, or you have mushroom, or you have resin that we have here. We also trees here in Spain to produce. Doesn't come. No, cannot. Okay. But we need to do it in a sustainable way, and to demonstrate people that we are doing it well, that we contribute to the global, to the national, regional, and global commitments. But the main one is of all the Sustainable Development Goals, that you know that we have this bottom-up approach in PEFC, and we have to meet these top-down commitments like SDG. We need to be there, and we need a point of a meeting point with these commitments. And the main development goal for us is the number 17, which are the partnerships like the ones we are taking now. What are the facts and figures? You have some, I think that Richard also gave some figures. These are the PEFC figures that you can have. We have many countries. 75% of global certified forests all over the world are under the PEFC scheme, because of this bottom-up approach, because of this sense of being part of the project, the PEFC project at the national level. We have some 50 national endorsed systems, and more than 22,000 certified companies in 78 countries. How does PEFC certification work? We need these certification standards to meet the climate targets, to support the sustainable, as I said, global development goals. We need to increase the business resilience. I heard the previous speakers, there was really amazing presentations, and I can see that we really need a business model for the forest sector. We need to organize ourselves to be able to take care of our forests, to produce raw materials in our forests, and to sell them properly for sharing with that in a way that the benefits are shared for all the chain of value. And we have the security that we are internationally recognized by different organizations, and we are based on the guidelines of very important organizations like ISO, ILO. I have heard that human rights in some places are not really recognized. If you have a PEFC, sustainable forest management or chain of custody put in place, then this part of forest workers or industry workers are covered by the 8 main conventions of the ILO, the International Labour Organization, for instance. So it matters. It is meaningful to be certified. These are the structures. You know, we have international standards, also international guides with PEFC, and we spoke about documentation, but we have to bear in mind that documentation has to be at the proper maintained and deal with it at the proper level. Not every single farmer can be a forest engineer. So what they need is to have a list of tasks to be accomplished, and not it is not that they have to do. They cannot do the technical part, they cannot do the research, they cannot do this kind of things, because that is not to be done by people on the ground. That is to be done at a different level of the organization of the certification. That's why grouping people, grouping farmers is the way to doing things. So we can have a leader, we can have an expert, a consultant, a girl, a boy. If he or she is of the region, it is much better to help to organize these people. So we are also creating green jobs on the ground, which is important. But we have an international model which is independent, impartial, transparent auditing. We have traceability. We have organizing by having a standard setting with a governing body, like in Thailand you did, and we have the national accreditation for the independent certification bodies. So everything is close, as you see in this kind of triangle of how do we do things. So we take into account the international organizations and the national organizations on the ground or the independent certification bodies. How do we do it in Spain?
Yes, excuse me, Anna, we have like about maybe 5 minutes, but can give you a bit more time.
Okay,
maybe focus
more
just on the group certification end of the presentation, please.
Okay, then we come to this. What do we have? We have the national scheme and the international regulation for chain of custody. We need, if we come to the market, we need international regulation because market is all over the world, and we have the Spanish scheme that describes the requisites of the certification. We have a Spanish technical model, and we have our standard. What does the standard have? The criteria and indicators, and the technical document explains how to implement these standards, these criteria indicators on the ground. This is the official, which is an official document. It is published in the official Spanish bulletin. We deal very much with the government at both the national and the regional level. And this is Spain. What you see in green is forest, is 55% of the Spanish geographical area is forest land, and we have good another forest products. We have a huge diversity, and we have 37% of conifers and 55% of hardwood. Another mixed standards. These are the criterion we are dealing with. We speak about carbon cycle. We speak about health and vitality, improvement of productive functions, conservation of biological biodiversity, protecting functions, and social and economical functions, which are very, very much important and must be multifunctional, from recreational topics to good or non-good forest products and so on. What is the overview of the Spanish typology of the property in Spain? Private forests are 70%. Local administrations has 22.3% of the ownership, and the regional and central administration 5%. So as you see, private forests are the main ones in Spain. We have a largest extent of small holdings. We have about the average is 3 hectares. And for private, and 500 or 600 for public bodies. Okay, and we have different associations of the promotion of PEFC, like autonomous PEFC within in Spain, but we have other many regions that have regional certification. We have these 3 types of certification, which are regional, group, and individual. And these are the figures in Spain. We have over 150,000 forest management units within 2.6 PEFC certified, 2.6 million of hectares of PEFC certified forests. We have some 52 and 110 forest owners within this area. As you see in the northwest of Spain, we have some 40,000, almost 41,000 of forest owners in one region, which is the region where we have the smallest properties on the land, the forest land. And how do we have the certification? We have 9 individual certificates, 21 group certificates, and 9 regional certificates in 9 autonomous regions out of 17 autonomous regions in Spain. But if you see, the most of the surface is within the regional certification. Here you can see how the forest owners are located. Most of them are in group certification, in small groups which are led by consultants, by associations, but cooperatives, and have the group certification on the left-hand side, almost the 80%. And the percentage of area by certification is regional is almost 70% of the land, of the certified land, and the group is 17%. So individual are very few people, forest owners on individual certification. How do we establish this group certification? We do it by the geographical boundaries, I mean by regions. The only way to get certified within these regions is to the regional certification scheme only consider regional certification, not individual certification. So you have to be part of the regional certificate if you want to get in one regional certification. And it's a way to decrease the costs. We spoke about cost, the previous speaker about the cost. We need to group the audits, we need to group the organization, otherwise costs are really high for these people. So we have individual forest owners, a forest association can join freely, and we have a special development for small forest owners. We have like good practices, guidelines, and best practices, like documents that they can accomplish, they can follow, they can tick when they have accomplished one task, this task or that task. So I think it is very much important. And there is one manager that has to be leading, or a champion that has to be leading and speak about on behalf of the group. Well, this is the scheme, but it is quite complex. And then in regional certification can be forest owners or managers, forest managers. They cannot, when I say managers, it's because they don't have, maybe they don't have the land use rights or land tenure, but they manage the land. So they can also participate within a regional certificate, okay? But because can be acting on behalf of other forest owners, okay? We need to be accredited by the PEFC Spain Board of Government. And if you want to have a regional certification, this regional certification has to represent more than 50% of the forest land of the region. It doesn't mean that it has to be certified, but it has to represent that amount of that percentage of the forest land in the region. Otherwise, it could be that we will go to a group certification, not to a regional certification. Regional certification is a unique certificate for the whole region, where you can join as you have a management plan. Then in this management plan accomplish the conditions or the requirements of the forest of the regional certification, then you can get in. If not representing that more than or the 50%, that you can have other smaller ones which are group certification. Then can be that a group in a village, in a municipality, they get certified and they decide to do a group certification, or they can do also other kind of group certification. I think that is how to do it. You can do to establish an association that acts like the applicant to the certification, or maybe that a group of people they agree on a paper how do they manage the group certificate. You need to, how to get certified? You need a forest area with a management plan. As I said before, you can have an umbrella plan, and then you have to let the farmers, let them know what are their tasks, what do they have to do to give answer to all the requirements of the management plan. But has to be tasks. They don't need big projects. They only need tasks to do on the ground to manage their land. Okay, they have to accomplish in this case the standard in Spain, and they can join a current certificate, or they can create a new certificate. They can group with others and do a new certificate. We always recommend try to get into a regional certificate, because regional is a public and private group. So it is really good because it's a co-responsibility of managing the land. between the public and the private owners. I think that we believe that that is the best, and also the public funds can be invested in helping people to do these kind of things. So then we have the internal audits, and afterwards the external audit. It's very important that the internal audits help people to do things properly, and then you will be granted with a license, or of the PEFC branded scheme, or with a PEFC and with a PEFC certificate. So how do we manage all this? You spoke also about how to manage all this data. We have been developing a system during the last 3 years to have, because we have Excel files, which was crazy. And then what we did to have this 2.6 million hectares, sorry, this is an old figure, or 52,000 forest owners within the same database. We created a database where every single new certificate or new enlargement of a certificate is copied in the database, and we can see it. It can be seen by the forest owner, the certification body that approves this certified, and by PEFC. We see the same thing at the same time, because we have a database that can be seen by all these three parties. So every user has a password and a keyword to get in, and they can see how is if their surfaces are or not properly done. So, but being that we have organizations, certification bodies, and PEFC Spain all at the same time being able to see the same things on the database, we can, the mistakes are really minimized, really very much accurate. So this is the real-time platform, which is very important. We need to have because sometimes we don't have the map, because the forest owners cannot have a map of their land, but they do have the cadastre register, or they have a property title or something. Then we put this proper title in the database, so we can link the land use rights, the land tenure rights, and the land ownership rights within the database, based on the Spanish cadastre. We also use the inventory, National Forest Inventory, to check if the species are the right ones, and so on. Okay, so we need also this support and this collaboration with the national authorities, with the regional authorities, that they have the GIS cartography and maps, and different also satellite tools that people on the ground cannot have, but the champion of the people are helping the forest owners, or the farmers can help producing this mapping, for instance. So we need a collaborative approach, otherwise we won't get it. Then when we have all the things done on the ground, then we come to the market, and then we need a chain of custody to accomplish the sustainable development goals, to say that we are dealing with all these requirements, because legislation, public procurement, private commitments, finance, consumers are asking for this kind of tools like PEFC chain of custody. They need to know that what they are buying, what they are using, comes from a sustainable managed forest. And we have to give these guarantees to the marketplace. So big companies like Tesco, Samsung, banking like HSBC, they ask for these kind of things, and they have us in their regulations for self-regulation. So
okay, we might have to jump to the end of this. Is
okay, so that's it.
it.
This is always an example of products.
Yep. And Anna,
Allora.
I
Dimmi quando posso iniziare a partire.
just mute somebody first, but then there's been some questions, Anna, and while you're flicking through the pictures of all the good work you've done, some quite technical questions about the group certification in the chat. So I might try and, because we will.
These are some examples, for instance, with I show you some example of chain of custody for this is resin products, is tapping also, is a tree. And these are all certified because the industry, they want to have certified the product. So this is some examples of this is our aromatizers for home.
Maybe Anna, could you go back one, because we just got a question about the tracking. You said that you made it this resin, which is a little bit similar to the slide with the tree. Just Steve has asked about how the timber is tracked through the chain of custody, and in Thailand they are already trying to tracking the natural rubber. So how are you applying the chain of custody?
Yeah,
it's very difficult in South Africa.
These kind of things. This is for wood, but will be the same. And in the case of rubber, we will have a certified rubber through the PEFC national scheme, the Thai national scheme, and then we will jump to the chain of custody. We will be they will collect the rubber, in this case, from the forest, and then the first person that takes the rubber from the forest will need a chain of custody certificate. Will need
okay.
It. And then
so
all the
chain of
companies
custody certificate.
The first person that takes the rubber from the forest needs to have a chain of custody certification, so he or she links the product to the forest.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Anna. And you had a very big presentation. And
shall I stop sharing my screen?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can try and remember some of the numbers and some of the internal processes you had for the group certification management. And actually, we're almost at the end of our time for the webinar. We might go over time 10 minutes if we can answer the questions, because I think, Anna, while you're still there, there's been a couple of questions. Like one question Arif asked, and it's
let me have a look of the tracker from the chain of custody. This is something we find very difficult when dealing with smallholders in South Africa. How is the timber from all these growers tracked through the chain of custody? Okay, well, I mean, who is in charge of that chain of custody? The person that is marketing the wood from the forest. So we need to have, as I said before, we need a kind of business model in a region. Is who is growing in this case the wood, who is growing the trees in the land, who is taking care of this sustainable forest management, and who is taking care of selling these things to the marketplace. So we need to have the whole business model. We need to, because otherwise we have growers on one side, and maybe nobody will knock at our door. So we need to see, if we want to sell a product, like anyone, if you want to sell a product, you need to know who will buy it, and this who will buy your product on the ground will be the one obliged to have a chain of custody to be able to trace your product from the forest to the end consumer.
Okay, and Anna, if I understood correctly, for the resin, all of the company had certification, so that made it easy to do the chain of custody for the resin collection. Is that correct?
Yes, we have the 99% of the resin area, resin, this Pinus pinastera area. They take resin from there, they tap it, and then they take the barrels with resin. They have it on the forest, and then a company with chain of custody come and take this and then start the processing of the, or in this case, the processing of the resin, and then takes California and and then start all the chemical process. But tracing from the forest, they have the amount they got from the forest. They if you buy 1 barrel, you cannot make, you know, I don't know, 1,000 of I don't know, whatever resin product you can think about. You have to have all the accountability of how much you buy, where do you buy it, who is the owner, the forest owner, who, and how do you trace it through the, because maybe that not the whole processing is done in one plant, but you have different plants. So you need that all the plants are they have a chain of custody in place.
Yep. And this is a question from Hanif from MTCC, and it's maybe tongue-in-cheek, but is there any non-certified forest in Spain?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, what I mentioned, 2.6 is like 13% of the forest, 13%. 13% of the forest area. Yeah.
Because it looks, when you look at the map, you see like it almost is pure coverage, but you still have 13%. And then the next question we had from Hanif was about how do you identify the group manager? And so and this is also following with Steve's question. In a regional scheme, who ensures that all growers in the region comply with the forest management standards? So how do you identify the group manager or group entity? And then how do they ensure compliance of the participants?
Okay, when coming to group certification, it's more that it's more in a private way. In a private way, that the group of maybe that the leader is a company which is interested in having PEFC certified rubber, for instance. So they promote, they put together people, they go on the ground, or they hire someone from the region and makes that this person you need to have a leader taking care of the whole thing, to organize, to establish the procedures, to tell people how to do best practice, to train people. You need this thing, because you know, foresters, as I said before, I mean, farmers are not foresters, are not engineers, are not. So they need maybe they need training.
And how did you identify the group manager? So for the regional certification, who is the group manager? And
in a
maybe Hanif is actually City, and City could ask the question more clearly. Would you like to ask it?
Can you?
Yes, the question is, how did, for the regional certification or the group certification, how do you identify who will be? I know, but how did they identify who will be the group manager?
May I say something? May I say something? If we come to group certification, it will be a private one. But if we come to regional certification, as I said before, it is the government that helps to establish an office with people, helping people to do things. So if you have a local office or a regional office, in this case, a regional office, where people hired by the government, paid by the government, are the ones promoting and helping people to do things. Okay. Could be one person from they pay for them. They cannot, it is not a civil servant, it is someone that they pay for, and it's someone from the region, which is, I don't know, it's a forestry engineer or whoever from the region, so they know the people, the conditions, and you know, that in that case, the regional government will pay for that. And that is the case, and they will take care of the certificate and everything, okay? If it is a group certification, it will be the private, it will be a private agreed by the group. How do they, who will be the leader of maybe one of them among them, one which is the, I don't know, the most active or whatever, and then is more capable to do it, and then they will take care of the whole thing.
Okay, so that answers that. Thank you.
Over to you.
About the private, the group entity, that's how they're identified. And I think for Steve's question about a regional scheme ensuring compliance of the members. So maybe you could give us a 2-minute a description of how does the regional scheme group manager ensure compliance of the members to the SFM standard? I think you talked about internal monitoring, or you said that the regional schemes have a forestry engineer. Is that how they ensure compliance? Do they also use the platform that you just described? Is that one way of ensuring compliance? Or
Yeah, to ensure compliance, we have, as it is mandatory to have internal audits. But who is dealing with these internal audits? Someone that is capable to do it. So someone who is a forestry engineer, or someone which belongs to the profession. I mean, it is not anyone, because you need to well-trained people to be able to manage all this amount of people that we have. If you don't, it is not possible. I mean, you need trained people to do things. I mean, it cannot be anyone. It cannot be anyone, because they have to do internal audits. So they have to be trained. They have to be qualified. You need qualified person. We have it in our, but it is established in the regional certification standard. Let's say you make an umbrella conditions to say which are the procedures, who are the people, who is doing what, who is responsible for what, this kind of thing. So you need to describe how do you manage everything with your regional conditions, of course, but you need trained people, because otherwise, if you have an architect in charge, they won't know if they are doing it well or not, maybe, because he doesn't know about forestry.
For sure.
So you need.
So I think that also answers Steve's next question about you have. Is there a committee of the forestry organization in the region? So you have some that is part of the standard, the structure for the group entity.
Absolutely. In fact, they create an association. Even though the regional certification, it is a body. It is not people, just a bunch of people together. It is a body, a legal body. It is registered, and it's a body with they have to present their accountability. They have everything to present in front of the legal the authorities. I mean, it is not something that so it is an association or a cooperative or whatever, but it is a legal body. It is not anything. Okay.
So that's it's a legal entity. So that's good for that.
It is a legal entity.
What we might do is one last question, and then we will close, and maybe we can continue the chat after. So City, I now know who is under the alias there, has asked about what is the threshold limit, I think the minimum to define what is a smallholder, or minimum or maximum. How do you define smallholder in Spain? Is there a definition of smallholder?
No, we do have it for companies, but we don't have it for no, we don't have. Yeah, well, it is in some regions it's under 25 hectares.
Okay,
that's the average, but the reality is that they have much lesser than 1 hectare, much lesser. They have half an hectare, quarter of a hectare. So the land tenure is really divided among all the people in a region. Okay,
and I will thank you for answering this block of questions that you've got specially, and then maybe Rungnapha will put up just the finishing slides. People can stay on to ask more questions, I think. And Rungnapha, there was one question I would like you to help answer in plenary before we close, is about the contradiction between the legal framework and the certification standard in Thailand. I mentioned that maybe about the land mapping of the land documents. So and this is a question for you, Rungnapha. Would you like to answer, Steve, please?
Yes, but actually I have seen Kun Somport already answered the question, but yeah, that is not not incorrect
Okay.
that you mentioned about the land.
Right. So it's not a conflict, but bureaucratic
Mhm.
steps and complexities is a problem, and the permits that it result in meeting that. Yes, there's not a conflict but a contradiction. Maybe the one I mentioned about the land is there. I have experience in the region, and I imagine it's similar in Thailand, that sometimes the government doesn't require a GPS map because GPS maps were not made when they made the cadastral maps. And that's the same still in Spain, that they use the cadastral maps. And so that is sometimes require the auditors in Thailand, I believe they would like every smallholder mapped with a GPS, but the cadastral maps or the land certificate numbers are not consistent, because measuring land with a cadastral chain and compass gives you a different area than the GPS. So sometimes there is that contradiction between the law and the certification requirements. I am answering on your behalf, Rungapa, please.
Thank you.
And maybe there also might be some contradictions between the health and safety as well. In Thailand, it's a very hot, wet country where a lot of safety equipment is not appropriate to the climate and the culture that they have. And so there's some contradictions about what is required for certification and what is required by law. So one last question. I said I were going to close, I know, but I'm happy to see questions from Ms. Kunsuri. Is okay, it's been that Anna, group certification is for both wood and non-wood products, right? And are the procedures different for cork and for resin and for pigs? Are the procedures different, or are they the same? Please unmute yourself, Anna.
I was answering to yeah, who Suriratna. I was answering her. The thing is that what we speak about is about sustainable forest management of a land, and I spoke about multi-purpose, sustainable forest management, multi-purpose, multifunction. You will take care of all the functions of that forest land. So when you what is in your forest plan, you will define what are the products, what are the purposes, and what are your main management targets, always under taking into account the sustainable forest management requirements. So whether you have in your forest management plan, you speak about cork and how to deal with that cork. If you have Pinus pinaster and you have resin, you will have in your forest management plan will have how to deal with that forest. That's okay, it. So or if you have, yeah, you can have cork, you can have aromatic plants, you can have mushrooms, everything. All these things should be in your management plan, in the management plan of your forest. Then you have to speak about productions, to speak about everything you need to speak about sustainable forest management. Okay, so you don't need. It is not that you say this is cork, this is resin, this is no. It is sustainable forest management of that forest land. That should all that should be covered by the management plan.
Fantastic. Great to hear how it's very pragmatically addressed in Spain. So I would like to just mention that we have the last of our webinar series next week at the same time, same day, but different countries. It will be Vietnam, Germany, and Finland, looking at what pathways towards group certification for smallholders in Vietnam. And so I hope you can register from the link there. Also, I would like you all to note that there is a survey in the chat, and we really appreciate not only your feedback, but also how can we collaborate. We are really happy to have kept I think 50 of the 60 people right to the end, 15 minutes over. And then we appreciate your inputs. And so the last slide is really to close. And so I think we will officially close the webinar here.